Good morning to everyone. Thank you very much, Tsakani. And just to extend my warm and sincere greetings to everyone at home, households, businesses that have taken time to listen to this media briefing. As is the norm, we take this occasion to take the country on the performance and the status of the grid and any other action that we are taking to ensure that we continue to improve the performance of the grid. I think it will be appropriate at the outset just to take the opportunity to congratulate the team Eskom, led of course at the apex by the chairperson and the board, Dr. Mteto, the CEO, Mr. Dan Marukane, and his able and competent executive management team, and in particular the head of generation, Mr. Bheki Nxumalo, and the many men and women, honest, patriotic, highly qualified, skilled, who are doing everything possible to ensure that we are able to resolve the energy crisis in the country. We are able to put load shedding firmly behind us. I must say that the kind of progress that we are seeing today is largely as a result of the exceptional work that has been done by the team at Eskom. I've made the point on multiple occasions that we've turned the corner, and I want to confirm that indeed we have turned the corner. We are making significant strides to ensure that finally we get to see the back of load shedding. Of course, we are not yet out of the woods. What I'm saying is that there's significant progress that we are making. And at the right time, when we have attained significant stability in relation to the performance of this unit, I think we can speak with a great deal of confidence of the results of the work that we are doing, and of course much closer to the ending of load shedding. I think the past few days represents a significant milestone. I think for the first time since April of 2022, we've had about 26 consecutive days of no load shedding. Like I said before, I think it starts with 24 hours of no load shedding, a week of no load shedding, a month of no load shedding, 3 months, 6 months, a year, and so on and so forth. So I'm just making the point that we are going to make small but yet significant milestones in ensuring that we are able to resolve the load shedding question. Some of the progress we are making is marginal, but the totality of this progress will result in a major contribution to the resolution of load shedding. So I really want to say thank you very much to the team at Eskom. And we know that we have not resolved the problem. The problem still remains. The issues of reliability is still something that continues to receive our urgent attention. So it's important that the milestone, however little they are, we get to celebrate them. We don't drop the ball. I think that only serves as an additional motivation for the men and women at Eskom to continue to do the work that they are doing. I mean, just to put it into context, like I always say, that we use May as a baseline so that we are having a full appreciation of the trend line. What is this trend line that we are seeing? So we're seeing that there's been a significant recovery as a result of the execution of the generation operational recovery plan. So all of these things is on the back of, first, at the national level, the Energy Action Plan. I'm saying at the national level, the Energy Action Plan, because Eskom is just but one component of the totality of the efforts that we are making. As you can remember, that the first outcome of the Energy Action Plan is to ensure that we fix Eskom. So for purposes of fixing Eskom, Dr. Mteto, the board of Eskom, and of course Mr. Marukane and the executive management team then put together what they refer to as the generation operational recovery plan, just to inform the orchestrated and planned approach on how Eskom seeks to recover the performance, ensure that we are able to address the challenges related to the reliability. So we know that we have made significant improvement. We have moved from a situation where our unplanned capacity loss factor, that is the rate at which these units are failing, the rate at which these units are not performing efficiently, what we call the partial load losses, we have been able to reduce that. We have been able to recover about 3,000 megawatts. We have moved from the historic highs of that baseline of 18,000 megawatts. Now we are averaging about 14,500 megawatts, and then you will see that over the past week there has been phenomenal improvements in relation to the unplanned capacity loss factor. So the point I'm making is that this execution that we are seeing is on the back of a plan that is well thought out. And like I said before, that there's going to be short-term pain, long-term gain. When we're at stages of stage 6 load shedding, I had made the point that we are taking that pain. We are taking that pain because as part of this generation operational recovery plan, what Eskom had planned to do was to ensure that we heighten the planned maintenance. We take these units out on the back of the fiscal support that we receive from National Treasury. And as these units are returning, you can see that there's high levels of improvement. I mean, just to give you a sense, in relation to the planned maintenance, what has been achieved the year to date in relation to planned maintenance is about 12%. And this is against our plan of about 9%. So there's been significant ramp up of planned maintenance. And that is made possible as a result of these units as they continue to perform. You use that, some of it is planned. Of course, like I said, significant is planned. And in some instances, there will be opportunity maintenance. Opportunity maintenance means that there's sufficient scope that has been created as a result of these units performing, and of course met by either lower demand of the performance of renewable energy, and you use that headspace to take out some of the units that are at risk to fix them, and you return them. When they come back, they're a bit more healthier and they are able to perform as required. So what is the point I'm making is that there's been a 3 percentage point accelerated maintenance against the stated plan, and that comes about as a result of these improvements in the performance of this unit. And then the other factor to add here is that we are seeing exceptional performance of renewables. Of course, this is non-dispatchable. You'll have occasions like we have had in the past 2 weeks or so, 3 consecutive days of inclement weather or overcast conditions, so you are not able to derive a lot from PV. But what is important is to say that as a result of the reforms that the state had introduced, because I think it's important that we have this appreciation, that the contribution of renewables is on the back of state incentives, a large part of it. So it's part of that orchestrated plan. So if you go to the Energy Action Plan, outcome number 4 stated explicitly that part of this Energy Action Plan is to ensure that we accelerate the rollout of a rooftop solar solution by both households and industries. I've shared with the country previously that we have seen that there's been a doubling of the capacity of rooftop solar. So we moved in 2022 of July from about 2,200 megawatts to about 4,000 megawatts a year later in 2023. And now I'm sure that we're about to breach the 5,000 megawatts. So what that means is that when we see the system, we see it as an aggregate. The point I dispel all the time, we are not saved by renewables. The renewables contribute to the aggregate because it's part of a deliberate and orchestrated plan. And that's why the state has introduced a number of incentives, the National Treasury incentive, to encourage people to go that route. That even in during sunshine days, sunshine in this instance, the green days, I really refer to when you are out of this load shedding situation, we'll still encourage people to roll out rooftop solar solution because we want want to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, renewables, and we want to ensure that households contribute, small and large industries contribute to this transition, if you like, this green transition that we have committed to, advocating, and we're also executing. So I think it's important that we have that appreciation. And then the other part to mention here is the fact that our reliance on open cycle gas turbine, the rate at which you are burning diesel, is coming down significantly as a result of this performance. I mean, just to give you an indication, a year to date, that's sitting at 5.97%. So that's what what we call the load factor, the amount of time that we are relying on this open cycle gas turbine, and that we've been hovering between 6% in December. We went to about 17% in March, and now in April we are significantly lower at 5.7%. What is the point to be made there? The more material point. The first one is that there has to be an appreciation that the open cycle gas turbines are part of the fleet. So that's the starting point. And they are designed to come into play during morning and peak and afternoon peak, when we anticipate that the generation might not be sufficient to meet the demand. Then you engage the open cycle gas turbine. So they are meant to be engaged, but the greater the performance of the entire fleet outside the open cycle gas turbines, it means that you are going to engage them less and less. So it means that you are going to burn less and less diesel, because we know this is the most expensive form of fuel. So I've seen others saying we are banning, Eskom is banning this so that you get to improve the prospects of the incumbent when it comes to 29th of May. No, those are some of the falsehoods that are peddled. What are the facts? The fact is that 5.7%, if you like, year to date, and of course we are not even experiencing load shedding. And just to give you an appreciation that at the height of the intensity of this application of open cycle gas turbine, we had them on load about 18% of the time over a period of time. And to give you a sense, now we're at 5.7%, and yet there is no load shedding. So I think there has to be an appreciation of the facts. And of course, I do accept that others are not familiar with the facts. When we use this opportunity just to lay the facts bare to the country, so that there's a general appreciation of where we are. And then what is the prospects in the immediate future on the Eskom side? The prospects in the immediate future in relation to additional generation capacity. I want to repeat the point that I had made earlier on, that we are on track to recover Unit 4 of Medupi, and that will be coming on stream, on load in September of this year. We are on track to ensure that we return as part of the extension of the license and the life of our only nuclear power station, that is Koeberg Unit number 2. You know, it has gone out. We are confident that we will return it in September again of 2024. That's 980 megawatts. Medupi Unit number 4, it's 800 megawatts, and we are confident of synchronizing Kusile Unit number 6 in October of this year. So essentially the point I'm making is that in the next 6 months, we are going to get an additional 2,580 megawatts just from the Eskom fleet. And of course, we'll come back to account on what our expectation in relation to rooftop solar solution, what is the rate of rollout, are we seeing any tempering in relation to the exponential increase in the rollout? And from where I'm sitting anecdotally is that we still, there's aggressive rollout by private sector, households and also industry. And then there's utility scale projects that are going to come on stream, that are going to add new generation capacity. So I'm yet to account for that, just accounting exclusively from what Eskom can offer. And of course, we will continue to ensure that we sustain these efforts of improved performance. And I think it's important that Of course, we are in a very toxic space. You can imagine we have entered the silly season of elections, and then people who are predicting, some of them had predicted previously that there's going to be a blackout, a system collapse. And we made the point that, no, when you see the intensification of load shedding, it's an instrument that is used to ensure that you don't get to that doomsday scenario of a blackout. So the intensity of load shedding has no relationship with your proximity to the system collapsing. In fact, it gives you assurance that the system operator is alert. And I do accept the point that you are going to find that there will be multiple voices who seek to soil the environment, because really they've been disarmed. Remember that there's been a significant weaponization of load shedding. So some of them have used this as part of a campaign tool. So when you remove it from their arsenal, they are exposed, and therefore they resort to unsubstantiated theories, like we have seen someone penned, something that can only be described as preposterous, that is not anchored on facts, and will not enter that space. Eskom will not enter that space. We are transfixed on the resolution of this problem. When we said that we have turned the corner, of course, few did not believe. The great majority of South Africans gave us an opportunity, gave us time, and we are beginning to see these results. And I want to say to the rest of the country, we'll keep focused on the bouncing ball, the resolution of load shedding. And I must emphasize that in the nature of the space, we are likely going to have setbacks. We will have setbacks where, like I said, we are still working on the reliability of these machines, and that's why you can't speak with great confidence that load shedding is behind us. I'm not about to make that claim. That will be a false claim. That can't be substantiated. And I think the relationship that we have built with the South African public is that we are going to be brutally honest, candid about where we are. We are making the kind of progress that we in fact, in many instances, far exceeds where we thought we will be, but we are not yet where we want to be. And that's why we'll continue to provide this. And I want to say that insulate yourself from these noises. Will continue to ensure that we protect the South African economy, that is able to rise and achieve its potential. And that's our primary mandate. That's what we are focused on. And then one of the things that we are doing, like I said, so I've given you the account of what's going to come on stream from the Eskom side. So first is the improvements. We are beginning to see these improvements, and then it's additional generation capacity, Medupi 4, Kusile 6, and Kubek unit number 2, and in total they'll give us 2,500 megawatts. I said that will materialize in the next 6 months. And I think it's important to have an appreciation that the resolution of load shedding finally will be anchored on new generation capacity. And the president has introduced reforms on the generation side to make it easier for new generation to come on stream. And one of the projects that has come on stream, it's a trailblazer in many respects. First is that is the largest, one of the largest rather, a hybrid solar and battery storage solution. And in fact, the largest on the continent, but one of the largest in the world. 540 megawatts of PV and 225 megawatts of battery storage, or if you like, 1,140 megawatts hours of battery storage. So first is a trailblazer in that is one of the biggest in the world and the biggest on the continent. So that's the first one. The second one, and for me this is particularly telling, is that it begins to approximate, if you like, base load conditions. So makes it possible that during the day we get fed from PV, the additional excess capacity is used to recharge the batteries. Peak when the sun is not there, then they engage the batteries. So they guarantee you about a dispatchable 150 megawatts of electricity. So this is important. I think it points to the future. As the technology continues to improve, you will see that you are going to see more and more of this. And I'm confident that also Eskom, as a player on new generation, is going to go this direction. So the Kenat project, the solar project that is sponsored by Scatec, one of the eminent companies from Norway, is a pointer to the future on what is possible. And of course, it continues to give us exceptional results. A 20-year PPA agreement with Eskom, an investment of about 18 billion rands, 49% of black participation. At the height of the project, 2,600 people were employed there. So I think that the SCATEC project is meaningful in many ways. And I think what this does is to reassert South Africa's unassailable position on the continent as a leader in relation to innovations around renewables and how you are able to get a proper mix of fossil fuels, that is coal and renewables, and the degree to which you are able to transition. So it's important that we have a full appreciation that while the focus in the short term, the shortest path to the resolution of load shedding sits with Eskom, the issue of energy security is Eskom Plus. What is that plus? Is new players in the terrain of this energy, and I think that the Kenat project points exactly to that. I think it's important also just to give you a sense of some of the milestones that we have achieved. Of course, I did make the point that the National Transmission Company of South Africa, the reforms that we have introduced, undermining vertical integration, a solely owned subsidiary of Eskom, and by definition is owned by the South African people. So there's no privatization of transmission, that it has met all the requirements necessary to establish and operationalize that body that we call the NTCSA. And our projection is that the NTCSA is on track to commence trading by the 1st of July 2024. Very important, because what it do is to ensure that there's fairness, there's an equitable engagement with other players on the renewable energy side, new generation capacity, and the multiplicity of buyers, enable those private transactions, is going to democratize this space, is going to encourage adoption of technologies, and in so doing introduce greater levels of efficiency. There's going to be competition. What competition does is invariably drives down prices, and therefore will not have energy poverty. By energy poverty, I mean the electricity is available, you don't have load shedding, but people can't afford electricity because of the higher tariff structure. So with this, the introduction of the NTCSA and the role that we expect it to play when it creates that democratic platform, greater competition, greater producers of electricity, more competition, and therefore we are able to drive down the cost of prices. And then the tariff structure. And another milestone is a point I've made earlier on, that the Department of Fishery, Forestry and Environment has published the solar PV and battery storage exclusion norms and for implementation. And what this does is to ensure that we allow for exclusions for the development of battery storage and solar PV facilities in areas that are confirmed to be low to medium environmental sensitivity without obtaining an environmental authorization prior to commencement. So what is the significance of this? One of the delays in onboarding new generation capacity is the regulatory requirement. And one of those regulatory requirements is that you must obtain a positive environmental impact assessment. By that we mean the net result of your project will not harm the environment. So the Department of Fisheries and Forestry, as a custodian of this asset, has an obligation to ensure that these practices, this new development don't harm the environment, and which, of course, can be recovered over a period of time. That takes an inordinate amount of time. So we have, the DFFE has identified what we call exclusions areas that are less sensitive from an environmental perspective. And if that is confirmed to be less sensitive, you don't have to go through the inordinate process of getting a license. So what that does, it truncates the permitting and licensing period, and therefore projects are able to get quicker to financial close, and therefore by definition they are able to get on stream as quickly as possible. And also just to say that Eskom has published a draft market code for consultation outlining the proposed rules for a future competitive wholesale electricity market. once the ERA bill is enabled, the NTSA will submit the code to NERSA. Like I said, it's about democratizing that space, ensuring that there's greater players in this space, that we are resolute on ensuring that we are able to introduce new players. Like I said, Eskom is also going to buttress its contribution on the generation side. So what we're trying to do is that you don't concentrate all the generation capacity just in one entity. And when there are occasions where this entity is not performing because of objective and subjective reasons, some of them were ventilated during the Zondo Commission, then the country is exposed. So you are de-risking that environment by introducing new players. So you don't concentrate the risk, you are de-risking it. And in that way, in addition to the competitiveness and of course the price point, it's also the issue of de-risking, and the NTCSA is going to play that role. And the RFP also was released for the third window of battery storage IPP on March the 28th for a further 616 megawatts to be constructed at 5 substation sites in the Free State. Like I said, what is the importance of battery storage? The importance of battery storage is that the endowments that we have, in particular the irradiation level, the sun, the ability to produce electricity using the sun, the technology that is associated with that, you can only achieve it during the day. And therefore, it means that you are losing that opportunity in the evening and the morning when we really need this electricity, because that's when it peaks. What battery does is that during the day when you have the sun, you are able to use it for whatever purpose, but you are able to charge the battery so that at the time when you don't have the sun, we are engaging the batteries. They are the ones that contribute to the grid. So essentially, the PV, it's approximating what I call base load condition, is available almost 24 hours of the day, is dispatchable. Of course, you're going to run into problems when you have consistent period of inclement weather, overcast condition. But the point we're making is that we're migrating in that area. So there's a greater appreciation in the country that we will get to that stage. And then bid window number 5, I'm happy to say that 11 projects have reached a commercial close. Of course, they take time, this project, to reach a commercial close. 11 of them have reached with the remainder of the projects being withdrawn. Bid window number 6 projects have reached legal close, and 4 still awaiting budget codes from Eskom to proceed to commercial close. And with regards to the risk mitigation independent power producer procurement program on renewable and hybrid projects, 7 preferred bidders have completed construction or reached legal close to date, while the remaining 4 of the preferred bidders have failed to go to the next stages. But the point I'm making is that we want to reduce that failure rate. Of course, it's a function of the preparedness of the project sponsor, but it's also a function of the kind of the response from the state, from a permitting and licensing point of view. And I've made the case, there's work that the DFFE is doing to truncate that process. There's work that the Water and Sanitation is doing to address the issues of water use license. There's work that Eskom is doing on expropriation of land. This will apply to a new transmission line so that we are able to accelerate the path where we'll be constructing this transmission line. So it's the totality of these efforts that are going to ensure that we achieve energy security. But what is important, the point to be emphasized, is that Eskom is a large player in this space, and thanks to the leadership of Dr. Mthethwa, the board, Mr. Marokan, we are seeing the kind of progress that we are seeing against the few who had thought that this is not possible. Those who wanted to leverage this as we go into the silly season, we will disarm them, we will remove the weaponization of load shedding, and ensure that we are able to address the energy security, address the requirements to grow the South African economy. I think that's a point to emphasize. And really, I thought that it's important as a last slide just to show that we are beginning to see the kind of improvement that we are desiring. I mean, just to give a sense, at the period of March, your unplanned capacity loss factor, the rate at which we are losing these units, the rate at which these units are not efficient is coming down. I mean, if you remember the baseline of May, like I said, we're sitting at about at 18,000 megawatts, we're bringing down. So the average of the week from the 8th to the 12th of April, we're sitting at about 13,900 megawatts. The week after, again at 14,000 megawatts. Today, we're still at about 13,000 megawatts. So we want to maintain that, but over a period, even bring it sub 13,000 megawatts. But it's a function of a steady, orchestrated, but deliberate effort on the part of Eskom. And I really want to say to the Eskom team, the totality of the men and women committed to the resolution of this crisis, we are exceptionally grateful as we add new generation capacity to ensure that we protect and sustain the South African economy. Thank you very much, Taka.